weren't able to speak comfortably despite this being our first meeting under these circumstances.
I have no desire to have a conversation with you.
It looks like you don't like me very much.
It's not just you. I despise all black wizards.
Is that so? Although 300 years may have passed, the public's perception of black magic still isn't very pleasant. As a black wizard myself, I can't help but feel that it's unfortunate. Although it might seem unreliable coming from my lips, I haven't done anything wrong. I've heard a lot about you, Sir Eugene. Your performance in the Bloodline Continuation ceremony has been famous for several years now, and I've also heard that recently you've shown a few great accomplishments in magic as well, and also received the Red Tower Master Letter of Recommendation for Akron, although I wasn't able to tell you this inside the room. Part of the responsibility that I've decided to take for this incident also involves you, Sir Eugene.
What do you mean by that?
It will be difficult for you to qualify for admission into Akron with just a letter of recommendation from the Red Tower Master. Unfortunately for you, Sir Eugene, the other Tower Masters and wizards involved in making the decision will reject you because you lack the necessary qualifications. So I will write a letter of recommendation as well.
How come? Why would you go to that extent?
I hold a great interest in your talent, Eugene. And, well, that's not the only factor. Another factor is that I don't have the best of relationships with Head Wizard Liberian. While I don't hold any bad feelings towards him, the Red Tower Master dislikes me just because I am a black wizard. Well, I don't expect that alone will be enough to make you like me, but won't it at least reduce your dislike of me? It will also show my sincerity to get along with the Lionheart clan.
If you are offering to write one for me, I will gladly accept your help. But even if I do, I can't promise to be friendly with you, though.
As long as you don't dislike me as much as you do now, that will be enough. That's all that I wanted to say. My apologies for keeping you here.
Did you have nothing to do with my older brother's issue?
I take great pride in being a black wizard. The existence of an incompetent black wizard is just a disgrace to black magic. Even if he is the eldest son of the Lionheart family, as long as he doesn't possess astounding talent, I would never consider offering him a chance to join us. Is that enough to answer your question?
Eugene got furious as he recalled the sight of Iode trembling as tears poured down his face.
Pathetic bastard.
Eugene, you can have the unicorn's heart. Since you've gone through a lot of trouble because of Iode, shouldn't you at least take something like that as compensation?
There were several methods for using the unicorn's heart. Although eating it directly was an okay way to go about it, Eugene didn't choose to use such a barbaric method. While circulating the white flame formula, he reached out to the heart. This is the cleanest and easiest way to do it. Eugene did not lose focus as he examined the purity of the mana.
Good. There aren't that many impurities.
The mana contained within was drawn out completely before being absorbed by Eugene.
It seems like I might be able to reach the 4th star before I turn 20.
If the people at the main estate had heard this, they might have fainted from the surprise. In the 300 years of the Lionheart clan's history, not a single ancestor had managed to reach the 4th star before becoming an adult. The Patriarch and Gion are at the 6th star. Vermouth had reached the 10th star. Reaching the 6th star alone was enough to get you recognized as one of a handful of the strongest warriors on the continent.
It looks like I'll have to start mixing things up before I reach the 5th star.
Since he had already learned a lot of things from his previous life, he felt that he might as well meld the formula together with everything he had inherited from Hamel.
They cost 300 million cells!
Motherfucker.
If we don't make the deposit before noon today, the right to purchase them will be transferred to the next highest bidder, so we need to hurry.
Can't we just let them have it?
A black card. Do you have any interest in opening up a separate personal account? If you make one now...
No.
Let's head to my place.
Why?
They said they'd make the delivery as soon as they received our deposit.
Are you telling me to go all the way to your place just to get a look at those giant balls? Are you insane? On second thought, let's head to your place.
I knew you were interested. I can share some of their essence with you.
I am not eating any.
Although he didn't have any interest in those balls, he was interested in the red flame formula that had been improved by Gargeth's family. He wanted to compare theirs to the white flame formula to see where the differences lay.
Huh?
Eugene gasped. In the square below the bank, among the teeming crowds, he had spotted a glimpse of purple hair. The moment he saw them, Eugene threw himself down the stairs without hesitation. Gargeth called his name, but the sound of his voice couldn't reach Eugene's ears. The square below was packed with people, but Eugene rushed into the crowd without caring. A seemingly unnatural, brightly colored purple, that color was created by vast amounts of mana spreading through her hair.
It's Sienna.
He tried to speak, but words failed him. Sienna hadn't changed compared to 300 years ago. She probably wouldn't be able to tell who Eugene was. I'm Hamel, but I was reincarnated as Vermouth's descendant. Sienna wouldn't believe him so easily. She might even curse at him and tell him to stop with his bullshit. He would be thankful if she did, as it would mean that, despite the passage of 300 years, her personality hadn't changed all that much from what he could remember of her.
Sienna.
Then he reached out and tried to grab Sienna's wrist, but he couldn't get a hold of her.
A ghost?
Sienna's lips began to move. Although he couldn't hear her voice, Eugene could tell what she was trying to convey from her silent lip movements. I found you.
I've also found you. Sienna Merden. Sienna is alive. Maybe she was able to recognize my soul like Tempest did, or else she may have come looking for the necklace. There was probably some kind of spell cast on the necklace. Sienna knows that I've been reincarnated.
However, it seemed like she was in a situation where she couldn't come to see him personally. So instead, she had sent an illusion to come looking for him. She must be sealed somewhere. Could she have done it to herself? Or was she sealed by someone? But who could have done it? A black wizard? A demon king?
In any case, it's fine now that I know she's unable to move on her own, 'cause you've come and found me this time. So next time, I'll be the one who goes and finds you.
Eugene, where on earth did you run off to in such a hurry?
None of your business. Let's head back. Just show me your red flame formula.
You've already learned the white flame formula, so why are you interested in the red flame formulas as well?
I'm just curious.
Well, it's not like it's difficult for me to show it to you.
Can you not use the red flame formula without doing that?
I can, it's just a mental thing.
Do as you wish. Can the red flame formula also split the core?
The version of the red flame formula taught by the main family doesn't allow you to split off new cores, but various collateral branches have further developed the red flame formula. Thanks to the efforts of our amazing ancestors, our family has succeeded in increasing the number of stars that can be generated by the red flame formula to 5 stars. As far as I know, among all the versions of the red flame formula derived by the collateral lines, only a handful can generate 5 stars. I'm on the 2nd star.
The 2nd star of the red flame formula was incomparably weaker than the 2nd star of the white flame formula, which Eugenia had already graduated from. Even though it's been developed over hundreds of years, the red flame formula is still limited to 5 stars. Vermouth, that bastard, really was one hell of a genius. The direct line's white flame formula and the collateral line's red flame formula. The red flame formula taught to the knights who serve the direct line doesn't even allow you to split off your core. In this way, the gap between the direct and collateral lines could be narrowed, but never closed. No matter how hard I think about it, I just can't understand why. Vermouth wasn't such a petty bastard, but if it had enough potential, Eugene was thinking of trying to graft the red flame formula onto the white flame formula, but it looks like there's no need.
I've seen enough.
You're leaving already? But the giant's testicles should be arriving soon.
I'll leave the fine inspection up to you. Didn't they say that Sienna left her last grimoire in Akron?
The 3-volume series, Witchcraft. Both Loberian and the Black Tower Master had also said that they would write a letter of recommendation for Eugene. Eugene felt that he could expect a positive reply to these letters of recommendation.
There's no need to be in such a hurry. You waited 300 years. Just a bit more won't hurt, right, Sienna?
This destroys the structure of a spell just by touching it, but such a tiny fragment can't disintegrate high-ranking spells. However, something like a low-level spell would be dispersed immediately.
If that fragment doesn't interfere with my mana, and if it doesn't interfere with any spells I cast, then that means that the density of my mana increases with every increase in the level of my white flame formula.
The 11th laboratory.
Concerning the 11th laboratory in the basement of the red, sounds of explosions and constant vibrations coming from there had been spreading since a few days ago.
I will go check it out. Sir Eugene, are you inside? Sir Eugene, are you okay? Sir Eugene.
What kind of 17-year-old has a body like that? Hera wondered in disbelief.
I'm so sorry. I should have waited for a reply before entering, but there was a loud noise. What you were doing, may I ask what that was exactly?
I was training my mana. I also combined that with some magic practice.
I don't see any magic circles, but what's that?
The surrounding floor had been cracked and overturned, but the area beneath the fragment was intact without any traces of damage.
Like this.
He's gotten even faster just now. Did he personally activate his mana and use his cores like they were circles? Hera asked herself in disbelief. The absence of an incantation was no longer a surprise. No one would believe that these were just a first circle magic missile and fireball.
Are you practicing warfare magic?
I was more focused on training the overall quality of my mana.
It looks like you've achieved quite some results. It's fine as long as you're not hurt. But Sir Eugene, please don't push yourself too far.
Yes, I'll be careful. Did you come all the way here just because you were worried about me?
Although I was a bit worried, the head wizard asked me to fetch you.
Are we going up to the top floor?
No, the head wizard is actually far away. He is in Akron.
Within the capital city of Aroth, Pentagon, in the center lies the royal castle of Aroth, named Abram. Built at the heart of a great lake, Abram cannot be entered without riding a boat to get there. This was because Abram and the lake surrounding it were completely covered by a magic sealing spell. 300 years ago, the wise Sienna developed the magic sealing spell. This was offered as a gift to the royal family by Sienna, and even now, after hundreds of years had passed, it was still working as perfectly as ever. They were currently at the Royal Library Akron. Eugene alternated between looking up at the tall clock tower of Akron and over the lake at Abram. That's just crazy, Eugene thought. Thanks to the fact that he had recently been diligently studying books on magic, he had reached a general understanding of magic. It didn't seem possible to cover all of that huge lake and the royal castle with a magic sealing spell.
Isn't it amazing? Do you want to go and visit Abram?
I'm just staring because it's so amazing, but it isn't a place I can visit just because I want to, right?
Correct, because only great nobles and tower masters are allowed to visit Abram. But if it's you, Sir Eugene, you might be able to go there.
Because I'm a Lionheart?
That's part of it, but if you do receive permission to enter Akron, you may also receive a summon from the Royal Palace. 3 people disagreed with you being recommended into Akron, the Blue and Green Magic Tower, and the Mage Guild Master. Well then, I'll be heading back now, Sir Eugene. Don't be too nervous. Good luck.
Yes, I'll do my best. My name is Eugene Lionheart.
Liberian Balzac, along with the rest of the 5 Tower Masters, stared down at Eugene. Raise your head. Since a few years ago, your name has often reached my ears. I had hoped that I might be able to meet with you. Hanan wasn't just the Crown Prince of Aroth. He's a 5th Circle wizard. He was a certified genius. Eugene recalled. Eugene Lionheart, I've heard many rumors about you, but for you to arrive here, both the Red Tower Master and the Black Tower Master have been praising you to the point that it seems like an exaggeration. But of course, I'm well aware of the fact that you are astounding. However, being able to swing a weapon and emit sword force, isn't that completely different from being good at magic? A kid like that had been able to get letters of recommendation from 2 Tower Masters, a 17-year-old kid who had just started learning magic a few months ago. The Red Tower Master has long been friends with the Lionheart's patriarch, and as for the Black Tower Master, I would have to guess that he wants to use this shameful affair as a chance to better his relationship with the Lionheart clan.
I understand what you are trying to say, but what do I need to do to prove that I am worthy?
All you need to do is show us your magic. These famous wizards who have gathered here today will take the chance to examine your skill in magic.
Usually, we would look at the results of your research and the papers that you have worked on, but since you've never done any research, let alone worked on a thesis, I guess that will just have to do.
If that's what you need, I will be starting then.
As the stars around his heart began to shine, all the wizards in the room were staring at Eugene with calm expressions. Their eyes weren't focused on Eugene's body, but instead on the movements of his mana within his body. So the cores and circles aren't separate from each other. By making the different cores resonate with each other, they form one circle. Eugene had only created a single circle, but not a single wizard here believed that to be just a simple first circle. Eugene Lionheart has only been training his mana for 4 years now. The density of his mana, it's ridiculous. But that still isn't enough. Having excellent mana control is a completely different matter from having an excellent understanding of magic. One by one, Eugene showed off all the spells that he could cast. During the transformation process of his magic, Eugene never once uttered an incantation, and there was no wastage of mana, even when the magic was broken down to be reformed. Instead, all of the mana that had been used for the first spell was saved to be used in the next spell. Are you able to use magic and swordlight simultaneously? Instead of replying immediately, Eugene directly showed it to them. Without stopping the transformation of his magic, his circle hadn't collapsed, while using a core in place of a circle, and incantationless at that.
What do you think now?
I think we need to hold a discussion.
I guess we do. Sir Eugene, would you be willing to wait outside for a few minutes?
Yes, sir.
Red Tower Master, are you sure that you haven't given him any guidance whatsoever?
Haven't I already said it so many times? I haven't given Eugene any sort of guidance. He just read all sorts of books at the Red Tower.
That just makes it even harder to understand. I have no intention of denigrating the quality of the magic books possessed by the Red Tower of Magic. Having only studied such introductory books on magic, could he have reached such an understanding of magic? He is a Lionheart after all, someone from the Lionheart clan of the Keel Empire, a descendant of the Great Vermouth. Everyone on the continent knows just how superb their bloodline is, right? I feel like we have met an indescribable genius in Eugene Lionheart.
The spells that the Lionheart kid cast just now, although they were all first circle spells, their power far exceeded that of the first circle. You all felt that, right? Apart from the purity of his mana and the sophistication of his spell structures. What was particularly surprising was the cohesion of his mana. I believe that even a dispel at the level of a fourth circle wouldn't be able to dispel that kid's magic.
But he's far too young. I can't help but acknowledge Eugene Lionheart's genius. We also need to consider Akron's prestige. As long as the Red Tower Master guides him personally for the next few years, there shouldn't be any problem with waiting for him to reach a level that makes it impossible for anyone to object before allowing him free entry into Akron. I think that it would be good to consider this as an investment. Although he's young, and his skills aren't quite up there, isn't he overflowing with potential? So why don't we issue the entrance permit in advance so that we can build a friendly relationship with him? But even if that's the case, it's not like he'll be able to become the patriarch.
One of the main family's twins, Cyan Lionheart. By order of inheritance, Iode Lionheart should have the advantage, but due to the latest unfortunate incident, since his skills were also quite lacking, it seems that Iode will have no choice but to be pushed out of the race for succession.
Even if Eugene Lionheart is unable to become the patriarch, his position in the main family will by no means be small. If he doesn't forget Aeroth's kindness, he is sure to become a strong ally someday.
I've heard that he also showed overwhelming results in the bloodline continuation ceremony 4 years ago. Even the Lionheart's direct line was forced to recognize his talent. If he receives Aeroth's support on top of that, we might even be able to say that we contributed to the second coming of the Great Vermouth.
Ha 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 ha. I can't help but feel that you're far too generous with your compliments. Balzac Ludbeth, are those words truly yours?
What do you mean by that?
I'm talking about the Demon King of Incarceration, who you've contracted yourself to. I only wanted to know whether his influence is coloring your words.
Ha 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 ha. The Demon King of Incarceration is far too busy with Helmuth's affairs. Furthermore, if I was trying to convey the will of the Demon King of Incarceration, I wouldn't have made my argument in such a fashion. I would have pushed even harder and more forcefully.
Forcefully?
I'm sorry if my words sounded offensive, but the weight that the will of the Demon King has on me is far more absolute than anything else.
It doesn't feel like we'll be able to achieve complete unanimity with our differing opinions. So instead, why don't we leave it up to a majority vote? Because the longer our argument goes on, the more bored that kid waiting outside will get.
That would be for the better. I am in favor of issuing Eugene Lionheart with a permit to enter Akron. This royal library not only stored several grimoires of immense value, but on the upper floors, it also kept the various vestiges left by those legendary archwizards who had left their names in the history of magic. This was the first floor of Akron. The entire history of Aeroth and Akron covered one wall of this wide-open hall, and quite a few stories related to Sienna were recorded among the rest of the history. What Eugene found the most interesting was the content about Sienna. Sienna's vestiges were stored on floors 12 to 14.
Hey, kid.
The White Tower Master's name was Melkith El-Haya. She was the first person in history to have signed a contract with 2 spirit kings at the same time.
Is the discussion over?
We held a majority vote. 5 people approved your entry, 2 people opposed it, and 1 abstained.
That was more support than I had expected.
Aren't you curious about who approved, who opposed, and who abstained?
As long as I know that more people approved than opposed, I'm fine with that. If that's the case, then am I allowed to go to the upper floors now?
You're allowed. After all, that is what the majority vote decided. Since it looks like you aren't all that curious, allow me to just tell you, I'm the one who abstained. Oh, but there's no need to worry. Although I may have abstained, I'm not opposed to you entering Akron. I would just get caught up in an annoying argument. You can see it in their faces, right? They all still look upset. Even though the majority vote has already been cast and a conclusion has been reached, they'll just change the location and start arguing once more. The Blue Tower Master approved. At first, he was opposed to it, but he seemed to have changed his mind along the way. Now then, Dumb, dumb, dumb. Who do you think the two opposing parties were?
I said that I wasn't curious.
It was the Green Tower Master and the head of the Wizards Guild.
Why are you still telling me this when I've said that I'm not curious about it?
Are you really 17 years old? Your reactions are so boring. You should be like, how dare they ignore the prestige of the Lionheart's direct line?
I don't care. I am off then.
Wait, I know what that sword is. It's a treasure of the Lionheart clan, the Storm Sword Wynid. I've heard that that sword has even been blessed with the protection of the Wind Spirit King.
Yep, so what about it?
I've always wanted to sign a contract with the Spirit King of the Wind, but he seems to be such a proud person that no matter how many times I try to summon him, he just won't appear. I've even begged the Lightning Spirit King and the Earth Spirit King, but they've told me that the Wind Spirit King won't sign a contract with anyone. That's why I sent such an earnest letter to the Lionheart's main family, begging to borrow Wynid. They said that the treasures of the main family can never be lent to outsiders. Petty bastards. It's like they think I might take Wynid and go into hiding with it. I just want to use it as a catalyst for a contract.
No matter what you tell me, I have no intention of loaning Wynid to you. It's not like I own Wynid. I'm borrowing it with the Patriarch's permission.
It's fine. I won't tell anyone. You can just lend it to me for a few moments. It probably won't take that long. Just a day, at the most. If you want, you can even watch as I use it.
Only the Wind Spirit King, Tempest, knew the full story of what had happened 300 years ago in the castle of the Demon King of Incarceration. Of course, Tempest had played innocent, claiming that he didn't know anything, but Eugene definitely couldn't believe those words. That son of a bitch, his fat ass must have gotten pretty damn heavy over the years since he won't come out no matter how many times I call him. Eugene had attempted to summon Tempest several times. With the amount of mana he currently has, he still can't summon Tempest. However, Melkith might be able to summon him. Eugene wasn't going to show a positive reaction to Melkith's proposal just yet. Rather than allowing her to simply grab onto the bait, it was better to tease the line a bit to see if he was able to draw in a bigger catch.
Where can I get my entry card?
If you go over there and ask for one, they'll give it to you. Did you know? The familiars who work here were all left behind by the Archwizards, whose names have been written on Akron's wall. This, of course, includes those belonging to the Magic King who founded Aeroth, a few from the Battle Mage who was called the Father of Battle Magic, and familiars which belonged to the Wise Sienna as well. Kid, your reactions really are bland. Don't you have a tremendous amount of interest in Lady Sienna? I saw everything earlier. You were reading the records belonging to Lady Sienna over and over again. On your first day in Aeroth, you headed straight to Lady Sienna's mansion for a tour.
Why do you know so much about my activities?
It seems that you're not too aware of it, kid, but you're actually really famous.
Of course, I know I'm famous.
You are kind of an asshole, too. Anyways, when are you going to lend me Wynid?
I'm not going to lend it to you.
Do you see the hole beside the door? If you put your ID card in there, the door will open. You're going up to the 12th floor, right?
Yep.
See, it seems like you really do like Lady Sienna a whole lot.
I don't. You're not going to be waiting here for me, are you?
I wanted to come with you, but you might get embarrassed. The shock when you face a glimpse of the truth. Your first time is the most intense. It might be better for you if you wear a diaper.
Why?
You might just wet your pants a little. Have fun!
Welcome to Sienna's Hall.
Sienna, are you Sienna?
Nope, I am the familiar in charge of managing Sienna's Hall.
This is the spirit Melkith talked about.
How do you know my name? Are you really a familiar?
Didn't you just now register your name with Akron on the first floor?
Right.
It isn't just me. All the familiars in this place are linked to Akron's systems. We know exactly who is entering and exiting Akron at all times.
What should I call you?
Lady Sienna named me Mer.
No way. Did she really name you Mare after the Mare in Merdane?
Yes, it's such a glorious name, don't you think?
Merdine was Sienna's surname. Having made a familiar in her image, what was she thinking? Eugene thought.
I'm just asking since I don't know much about your kind, but are familiars usually, as human-like as you are?
I'm special, of course. The one who made me was the wise Sienna, companion of the great Vermouth. I was created with the personality of my master, Lady Sienna, as the basis.
Isn't it a taboo of magic to create a living being?
But I'm not a living being. I don't have a soul like all living beings have. My body was created through Lady Sienna's magic. And as for my consciousness, it's in there.
Eugene stared blankly at the sphere.
What on earth is that?
That's a great question. That is the distilled essence of all the magic that Lady Sienna developed throughout her life. That is witchcraft.
Eugene's jaw couldn't help but drop. This was witchcraft? The grimoire that Sienna was said to have just finished writing before she disappeared and was said to have been divided into 3 volumes?
How does that look anything like a book?
It's an outdated prejudice to say that a book should look like a book.
That just sounds like nonsense.
It's only natural that Sir Eugene doesn't understand it. After all, there's no way that Sir Eugene is capable of understanding Lady Sienna's magic when even the Tower Masters can't comprehend it, right?
Mir's words were overflowing with pride, and her mischievous smile was full of confidence. And at the same time, her attitude subtly looked down upon the one facing her. She had said that she was based on Sienna's personality.
Right up until she disappeared, was Lady Sienna's character similar to yours?
Of course, it's different. The personality I was based on is Lady Sienna's childhood personality. Lady Sienna became much nobler and overflowing with dignity. She didn't laugh much and was solely preoccupied with researching and developing magic.
Yeah, nobler my ass. So what did you mean by saying that your consciousness is in there?
My consciousness is maintained by witchcraft's magic, and the purpose of my existence is to protect and maintain witchcraft. I have been supervising this hall following the orders that Lady Sienna gave me 200 years ago.
When the head wizard had first read the first volume of Witchcraft, he had said that all the magic that he learned up to that point in his life now seemed like child's play. Certainly, this is far beyond the realm of ordinary magic.
Do you know why Lady Sienna went into seclusion or where she went?
Of course, I don't know. Lady Sienna's disappearance was both surprising and secretive. Neither her disciples nor I knew anything about Lady Sienna's retreat into seclusion. The King of Arath, the Tower Masters of that time, the head of the Wizards Guild, and countless other wizards still captured me and asked me for Lady Sienna's whereabouts. I told them that I didn't know anything. However, they didn't believe me. Then men who didn't even know what they were doing and were lacking in skills started trying to access witchcraft and messing with my memories. They seem to have lost their ability to learn from their mistakes, since they keep finding me to repeat the same attempts every few decades.
If Mir had all of Sienna's memories, there was no way that the Wizards of Arath would have left her alone. They might have dismantled Mir to extract all her memories of magic, or else they could have used her to research new magic. No matter how much the Wizards respected Sienna, if there had been something like that in front of them, they wouldn't be able to call themselves wizards if they didn't take it apart to study it.
They say only the first volume is displayed at Akron. Is that correct? Are the other 2 volumes stored here as well?
Nope, this is the original text of Witchcraft, but only the first volume is stored inside there. Lady Sienna extracted the second and third volumes from the original text, and when only the first volume was left, she donated the original text to Akron. Sir Eugene seems to have a lot of interest in Lady Sienna.
Isn't that true of everyone who comes here?
That may be the case, but Sir Eugene isn't exactly an ordinary wizard, right? The clan left by the Great Vermouth. This is my first time seeing one of his descendants, so it feels a little amazing. From what I can recall after returning to Arath, she never once interacted with the Lionheart clan. She never even met with Vermouth again.
According to the records of the Lionheart clan, there was no further interaction after the clan was established. The next time that any of the companions met was at Vermouth's funeral. This made Eugene feel like there was a strong sense of separation between them, and this filled him with complicated questions.
In your memories, were there any times when Lady Sienna talked about her former companions?
There were times she would look at Sir Mullen and call him an idiot. She called Anise like a snake.
What about Hamel?
Idiot, son of a bitch, fool, and a piece of shit.
Didn't you say earlier that Lady Sienna was much nobler and overflowing with dignity?
Even a noble person overflowing with dignity can do something like swearing. Whenever Lady Sienna talked about her former companions, her expressions always seemed like she was about to cry. Especially when she would talk about Hamel, it was extremely distressing for her.
Did Lady Sienna have anything to say about Vermouth?
She didn't say anything about him. She didn't make any compliments, curses, or even observations about him.
The same portrait as the one hanging in Sienna's mansion.
That portrait is a forgery. Lady Sienna never once smiled like that. During the frequent talks, Lady Sienna held with me to establish my personality. I asked Lady Sienna why she always seemed so sad. Although Lady Sienna wasn't able to smile like me, she explained to me why she would leave behind a portrait like that. If it was meant to be passed down to future generations, it would be better to see a smiling face rather than a sad face. As for that portrait, the artist just randomly drew a smile. Perhaps that's why Lady Sienna didn't like it very much, although the portrait is currently up for public display in her mansion. It's always nice to see a smiling face, as Lady Sienna said.
Eugene unconsciously reached out and patted Mir on the head. Mir immediately knocked away his hand.
Don't cross the line.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Although I might have a smaller body than you, I've been here for over 200 years. I don't want to be treated like a kid. Witchcraft wasn't the only item in Sienna's hall. Of the various magical tools that Sienna had used during her lifetime, that staff is the one that Lady Sienna used throughout most of her life.
Akasha.
As expected, you already knew about the fairy tree, which only grows in Samar Forest, the sanctuary of the elves. Akasha, the most powerful magic staff in the world, was made from the roots of that 1,000-year-old tree that grows in the center of their forest. The elves believe that the ancient tree holds the spirits of their ancestors and that its roots support the entire world. You know what that means, right? Those elves cut off a root of that ancient and sacred tree to make this staff as a gift for Lady Sienna.
Sienna wasn't an elf or even a half-elf.
Sienna didn't know who her parents were. When she was just a baby, she was abandoned in Samar Forest. An elf who just so happened to be passing by was drawn to the baby's cries and saved Sienna. After discovering that she had tremendous magical talent, they recognized her as one of their own and taught her the magic of the elves. Not only that, do you see that thing over there? The red jewel at the end of the staff? If you're curious to know what that is, it's
a dragon heart.
Yes, that's right. Among all the magic staffs that exist in the world, there are only 2 staffs that have incorporated a dragon heart. One is Lady Sienna's Akasha, and the other is
Vladimir.
The current owner of Vladimir was Count Edmund Codrith of Helmuth. He is one of the 3 black wizards to have signed a contract with the Demon King of Incarceration. That terrible staff had still been around 300 years ago. At that time, Vladimir's owner was a lich named Belial, a servant of the Demon King of Incarceration. In his previous life, the one who had killed him was that lich, Belial. All the demonic beasts and demon folk who guarded the castle of the Demon King of Incarceration were powerful enough to be a match for any of the previous Demon King's servants. And even among those powerful guardians, there were 3 especially powerful demon folk. These 3 were known as Incarceration's Blade, Shield, and Staff. They couldn't conquer the castle of the Demon King of Incarceration without anyone dying. So if someone had to die for it, let that person be me, he had insisted. And once the battle with Belial, Incarceration's staff, was over, a large hole had been pierced through Hamel's chest. That was how his previous life had ended.
Can I try holding it?
Of course it's okay, but just so you know, it's impossible for you to cast any magic with that staff. Akasha will only recognize Lady Sienna as its master. Several wizards tried to become Akasha's new owner, but none of them were able to receive Akasha's approval.
Akasha wouldn't accept the mana that he had offered it. Since he'd seen the illusion of Sienna, Eugene had held a slight hope that he might be able to obtain Akasha's approval, but it seemed that Sienna had left no such arrangements for him. If you were going to leave something behind for me, I'd rather you'd have left Akasha instead of my necklace.
It looks like Sir Eugene does like Lady Sienna a whole lot.
You can't really call it liking her.
Liar. Every time I tell a story about Lady Sienna, your eyes twinkle brightly, and whenever you see something that belonged to Lady Sienna, you become extremely immersed in its history.
I've always had a liking for old stories.
Is that so? Then you should like that book as well. The Great Adventures of the Hero Vermouth. Since Lady Sienna and her other companions were always reluctant to talk about what happened in Helmuth, this fairy tale is the first book to tell the world about the
It's a damned book is what it is.
Huh? Why?
I like Sir Hamel the most, and I respect and admire him, but in that fairy tale, Sir Hamel is made out to look like such an idiot.
This book is the first edition. It's different from the revised version that is spread throughout the world right now. You might not be aware of this, Sir Eugene, but this fairy tale was first published in Aeroth 300 years ago. But the author of this book is anonymous.
Let me have a look. Hamel, that asshole, fought so excitedly with Vermouth upon their first meeting, he couldn't even touch Vermouth's collar, and his face was thrown into the ground so hard that he cried.
This son of a bitch. Could the bastard who wrote this have been a niece?
For now, why don't we go up to the 14th floor? You would probably prefer that floor to this one.
Why so?
Because you said that you like old stories, right? And that you like stupid Hamel as well. Take a look. Those are the personal memories that Lady Sienna extracted for her recollections. those aren't just simply portraits, but are the real versions of Lady Sienna's comrades as she remembered them. Over there, the handsome man standing in the center is the great Vermouth. Beside him, the blonde woman whose eyes are smiling so much that it's impossible to see her pupils. That's faithful Anise, the saintess who carried around bottles of wine while calling them holy water. The macho causing you confusion about whether he's a troll or a human is the brave Mullen. The man who looks like he has a bad personality, with a frown on his face, is stupid Hamel. This is the only sole record of Hamel's appearance. You can only find his face here, in Lady Sienna's hall.
How handsome.
Right? I still can't get over how handsome Sir Vermouth was.
I was saying that Hamel was so handsome, not my ancestor.
Are you crazy?
Well, my ancestor, I admit that he's handsome, but Hamel also, he has his charms, with his, bestial charm. What's on the higher floors?
Books written during the process of constructing Akron. If you were to read it as you are now, Sir Eugene, you probably wouldn't be able to understand it. That goes for her other research journals stored in Akron as well. Among all the wizards who've found their way here, none of them were able to understand what Lady Sienna's research was. Witchcraft contains an optimized mana application formula. It can amplify the magical power created by a circle, increasing efficiency and removing the need for incantations.
Sorry, but while I hear what you're saying, I don't understand it.
Of course that's the case. If you could understand it just by hearing it, there wouldn't be any reason for witchcraft to be called the greatest grimoire in the history of magic, would there?
Okay then, and just how am I supposed to read it?
Close your eyes and reach out your hand. After that, transmit your mana into witchcraft and you'll be able to read it.
Suddenly, he lost all sensation in his body. He couldn't hear anything, and he couldn't smell anything. It's similar to a dream, but also different. Things weren't changing according to his will, like in a lucid dream. Instead, he just felt an overwhelming sense of powerlessness. Since his body did not exist, he couldn't move anything. Witchcraft had flooded his head, creating an infinite sea. A huge wave formed in front of Eugene, only to become a single ring. The single circle began rotating slowly, copying it. Through this, the circle multiplied one at a time. His consciousness began to collapse. When Eugene opened his eyes, the very first thing he did was check his underwear. He was worried that he might have wet himself, just like Melkith had warned.
Did I do something shameful while I was out?
Well, it was a bit shameful for you to faint like that. Were you worried that you might have peed your pants? It's normal. There've been quite a lot. The current White Tower Master, Melkith Elhaya, also peed herself, and so did the Blue Tower Master. So, how was it?
Difficult. I think I can vaguely understand what I saw. However, I'm finding it difficult to accept it as the truth, or as even just a theory. That circle, it just kept multiplying. But the circles, I know, they only go up to the 9th circle.
When Lady Sienna first created the circle magic formula, she was already at the 9th circle. However, Lady Sienna continued to focus on researching and training her magic. And just like that, she surpassed the limits that she had set herself. It's called the Eternal Whole, the ultimate end goal of the circle magic formula that only Lady Sienna has been able to reach. Since witchcraft was released, numerous wizards have attempted to recreate the Eternal Whole, but none have managed to break through the wall into the 9th circle. Without wasting even a single point of your mana, you need to contain all your mana within a giant series of circles, then split them apart and recombine them to form a new one. Although she didn't confirm it personally, she could probably have slain a demon king all on her own.
Maybe.
Eugene's basic understanding couldn't fully comprehend the greatness of witchcraft. Sienna wasn't just wasting her time frivolously. Anise and Mullen had probably done the same, except for one, Vermouth. So for those guys to have not gone to challenge the Demon Kings once more until the very end, and for Sienna and Anise to have gone into hiding at around the same time. Vermouth, just what on earth were you planning?
You sure were late to come back down.
So, how was it?
I'm not sure what I saw. Based on the magic theory that I've learned so far, I think it will take me several years just to properly understand a single one of those magic books.
Of course, because the magic books stored here are the distillation of Aroth's hundreds of years of magic, kid. No matter how smart you might be, there's a limit to the amount of magic you can learn without a proper teacher. You don't need to worry. As long as you lend me Winid for a teensy bit, I'll explain 10 volumes of magic texts to you in a way that's easy for you to understand. Doesn't that sound like a good deal?
It does sound good, but I don't necessarily need to trade for guidance on those magic books. Don't you have anything else that's worth trading for? Items can work just as well.
This kid really knows how to cut a deal. You don't have a staff yet, right? Although you might feel like you can already use magic quite well even without a staff. That's just because all the magic you've learned so far has been simple.
Eugene, I have a lot of fine staffs in my collection as well.
Why do you have to keep trying to get in my way?
Why do you have to keep being so greedy when you already have contracts with 2 spirit kings?
This old man. Do you think that I don't know what you're really afraid of? Are you truly that worried that I might wreak havoc after signing a contract with the Wind Spirit King?
So you're well aware then.
Hey, even though we've known each other for decades, do you still not know me that well? Can't you see that I've got no interest in the headache that's meddling in Aroth's state of affairs?
Although you can say that now, once you obtain too much power, it might end up twisting you.
I swear on my mana that I have no desire to abuse my power and make a mess. Even if I do manage to sign a contract with the Wind Spirit King, I won't do anything that disgraces my position as the White Tower Master.
All right then.
What?
If you've sworn on your mana, then I guess I'll just have to trust you, isn't that right?
You snake-tricked me!
I've been thinking about it, but I don't want a staff.
If anyone heard you say that, they'd think I was just giving it to you. Kid, I'm just lending it to you. You got that. Right.
Allow me to say this in advance, but I will only be able to lend Wynid to you for a few days. But if that means I will only be able to borrow one of the artifacts that head wizard Melkith owns for a few days at most, then we might as well not go through with it.
You, just as I thought, you are an annoying brat. Let's trade 1 year per day.
So if I lend you Wynid for a week, you'll let me borrow whatever it is for 7 years?
That's right.
Do you really have to go that far just because you want to borrow Wynid?
I have to make a contract with the Wind Spirit King no matter what. Ever since I became a spirit summoner, all I've ever wanted was to sign a contract with the Wind Spirit King. Because the Great Vermouth was the last one to have made a contract with the Wind Spirit King.
Ahem. Eugene, if you don't have any desire for a staff, then...
Hey you! Just keep quiet.
Among the artifacts collected by the White Tower Master, there's one that's extremely rare and precious.
I told you to shut up.
I'm quite curious about what he has to say.
Well, there's this artifact called the Cloak of Darkness.
I said shut up!
Why do you sound so upset? When, as far as I know, you haven't even used the Cloak of Darkness once in these last 10 years?
Do you know how much I went through to get my hands on that cloak?
Isn't it better to lend it to someone who needs it and get what you want in return instead of just leaving it lying around and used except for decoration purposes?
What exactly is the Cloak of Darkness?
It's just a winter cloak. Since it's got fur all over it, it's quite warm. That's all there is to it.
You know about Geddon's shield stored in the Lionheart treasure vault, right? Although it's not really on the same level, the cloak can do something similar. If you direct a frontal attack into the inside of the cloak, you can redirect it back in any direction you want.
If you don't calculate the spatial coordinates correctly and guide the path of the attack with mana, you won't be able to send the attack back in the direction you want it to go.
The outer surface of the cloak is also enchanted with high-level defensive spells. You can easily block an offensive spell of the 5th circle just by wearing it.
But that also depends on your own mana.
That cloak also has the highest levels of subspace magic imbued into it. Just put some things into the cloak, and then you can take them out whenever you need them.
You bastard.
That sounds great. Let's trade for the Cloak of Darkness instead of a staff. But not right now. I still need to request permission from the main family.
I still haven't agreed to this.
If you don't want to, then it can't be helped. Anyways, I used too much brain power upstairs, so now I'm starving. Head Wizard Lobarian, if it's okay with you, would you like to have a meal together?
That sounds good to me. Although it isn't that close to here, I know of a nice restaurant situated up in the sky, in one of the floating stations. Although the food there is delicious, the night view seen from its windows is even better than the food.
Wow, come to think of it, I still haven't gotten to see the night view that's called one of Aroth's crown jewels.
If so, then that's great. Allow me to call an aerial carriage for us immediately.
Fine, I get it.
Melkith reluctantly admitted defeat.
Oh, you were still here?
The Cloak of Darkness? If that's what you want, I'll lend it to you.
There's no need to rush. Haven't I already told you that I need to ask permission from the main family? I could almost think that you were a crow screaming.
Just as Eugene had expected, Gilead made no objections to loaning Wynid. However, he did attach conditions. They absolutely could not risk destroying Wynid during that time, and an observer from the Lionheart clan would be attached to Melkith for the duration she was borrowing Wynid.
Is that the Cloak of Darkness?
Cool, isn't it?
I think it would look cooler if I wore it.
I've always felt like you were an annoying brat, but this is...
Don't get too upset. Wouldn't it be better to be happy that I agreed to this deal?
So then, who will be arriving?
They said that Keon, the patriarch's younger brother, and the Lionheart clan's guardians will also be accompanying him. This will be the first time loaning out a treasure of the main family, and they're also here to take a look at Iod's, my older brother's incident.
The Guardians? You're talking about the hunting dogs of the Lionheart clan, right?
Calling them hunting dogs. Although the Guardians wouldn't appreciate these words, Eugene's opinion of them wasn't all that different from Melkith's. The guardians of the family commandments, the Lionheart clan's Black Lions. Although that's what they were called, the Guardians' role was no different from that of hunting dogs. If a child from the collateral lines who had not attended a bloodline continuation ceremony were to train their mana or pick up a real sword, or if the White Flame formula, which was meant to be learned exclusively by the main family, was taught to a collateral descendant, the Guardians would appear to deliver the judgment for their crimes. The practice of black magic was strictly forbidden by the Lionheart clan's commandments. Although Iod hadn't succeeded in practicing black magic, it was true that he had tried to start learning black magic. As such, the Guardians had decided to visit Aroth to investigate this matter closely. Keon Lionheart, the still unmarried younger brother of the Patriarch, became a member of the Lionheart clan's Black Lions. Even the Patriarch isn't on the same level as the old bastards of the Senate. Eugene have never seen them before. He wondered how strong they were. A gigantic aerial carriage landed in front of the Red Tower of Magic.
They sure are throwing their weight around.
Didn't you say that you respect Sir Vermouth, the ancestor of the Lionheart clan?
Kid, don't misquote me. The one I respect is the Great Vermouth, not the founder of the Lionheart clan. I don't like how its main family suppresses its collateral lines, nor how their council and their Knights of the Black Lion put on such a secretive act.
But for now, you should hide such an attitude. If you really want to borrow Wynayad, you had better avoid doing anything that might offend them.
Are you asking me to act all nice and polite? If anyone had heard you say that, they might be confused into thinking that I'm not trading with them on an equal footing. With my greatly cherished and adored Cloak of Darkness, I'm actually trading it for Wynneed.
It's not really a trade. We're just loaning them to each other. And you remember that we promised a day for a year, right?
The door of the aerial carriage finally opened. For such a spacious carriage, only 5 people were riding in it, and the first person to get off was...
Ciel, what are you doing here?
My mother's birthday is coming soon. I've come to pick out a few presents for her. I was also curious to see if you were doing well.
Following Ciel, Keon was the next to emerge.
Eugene, how are you?
It really hasn't been long enough since you two last saw each other to feel such joy at your reunion. There'll be enough time for that later, so let's just focus on business for now.
Although he didn't know who the man was, Eugene could feel he had exceptional skills, but not with a sword. It looks like he uses a spear, Eugene observed. That man's a wizard. Since they were coming here to check on both Wynnead's loan and Iowa's issue, it was only natural for them to have included a wizard in their group. And behind him, oh my, she's strong. But what Eugene noticed before all that was the woman's hands, due to the long period that had been spent training them as weapons. So she doesn't use a sword or a spear. She's a fist fighter. Considering her outfit, she must be the leader.
Has it been 20 years? Since you became the current Red Tower Master, right?
When we last met, I had already told you I would soon become the next Red Tower Master.
Did you really? Since so much time has passed, I can't clearly recall it. And I probably wasn't all that interested in the first place. So you're Eugene Lionheart.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Carmen Lionheart. You could consider me your great aunt, but don't call me that. Got it?
That would mean that this woman was Gilead's aunt. Appearance really isn't everything. Among those here, Melkith alone was over 60 years old, and Lobarian was the closest to her age. But even so, these two were able to maintain unbelievably youthful looks at their respective ages, so it was no surprise for Carmen to look so young.
The wind is picking up, so why don't we head inside and talk?
Carmen Lionheart, like Keon, was the younger sibling of a previous generation's patriarch, and again, she hadn't gotten married. After staying at the main estate for quite some time, she transferred to the Knights of the Black Lion. Currently, she is the captain of the 3rd Division of the Knights of the Black Lion. Nishon Lionheart was the man who patted Keon on the shoulder. He was one of the commanders in the 3rd Division led by Carmen, and instead of the direct line, he came from one of the collateral lines. Falgo Lionheart was the wizard. He likewise belonged to the 3rd Division. He was from a magic-focused branch, which was rare even among the collateral lines, and today he was the one in charge of formalizing the deal with Melkith.
This deal involves the Storm Sword Wynayad, which belongs to the Lionheart's main family, and the Cloak of Darkness, which belongs to the White Tower Master. For every day that Wynayad is borrowed, the Cloak of Darkness will be loaned out for 1 year, correct?
Yes.
We've already prepared a contract.
What was emphasized in bolded characters was that Melkith was not allowed to risk destroying Wyned.
If that occurs, you must pay the corresponding price. Isn't that rather vague wording? Just in case, I would like to hear what would happen if I did destroy Wyned.
Then you would have to pay for it with your life. The Storm Sword. Wyned is a treasure of priceless value. If you want to borrow it, then of course, you should be prepared to risk your life.
Even though my life also has incalculable value?
Although that might be the case for Aroth, that doesn't apply to the Lionheart clan.
Now, there's really no need to offer up your life. I have faith in the White Tower Master. I also have respect for you as a fellow wizard. I don't truly believe that the White Tower Master will make such a clumsy mistake of destroying the catalyst while trying to make a contract with the spirit. In any case, should Wyniad be destroyed, we will discuss the matter again at that time.
But what you're saying is that it will still be up to the Lionheart clan to decide first, right?
If you don't like it, then give up on borrowing Wynide. The truth is, no one on the Lionheart side is desperate to make this deal. If the Patriarch hadn't personally requested it, I wouldn't even have come here.
If someone heard you say that, they'd think you came all the way here because of me.
Of course, I've come here for the truly important issue, not this trivial matter. I've made an appointment to visit the Black Tower of Magic in an hour from now. I need to have a conversation with Balzac Ludbeth about the incident with Iode, and after that, I will be accompanying him to Aroth's prison to interrogate the Black Wizard who dared to teach black magic to the eldest son of the Lionheart clan.
These words were the complete opposite of Gilead's previous response. Gilead had said that he would allow Aratha's laws to hold precedence in judging Gavid's case. That seems to be a bit different from what Gilead had decided.
Although the Patriarch may have made his decision, the Council has reached a different decision. The name of the Lionheart clan was dirtied due to the previous incident. The person who caused such filth to tarnish our name needs to be held accountable.
To think she was carrying a pocket watch. It was the first time he had seen someone carrying such an uncomfortable and heavy watch in their vest pocket.
If you're going to go around carrying a pocket watch, why are you also wearing a wristwatch? Also, why do you keep chewing on a cigar you haven't even lit?
I have already obtained permission from Aroth's royal family and parliament. Rather than tearing at each other's faces over this issue, wouldn't it be a lot cleaner to allow us to interrogate and punish him?
She dodged my question.
Eugene didn't know how much money the Lionheart clan must have paid for the right to interrogate and punish the criminal, but the council must have paid a large enough bribe that no one had sought to refuse.
As such, what are you going to do? Are you going to take the deal? I don't have much time, so answer quickly.
So they want to go by hours instead of days. That works out better for me since 3 hours should already be enough to be able to get her Cloak of Darkness back within 2 months.
I'll take it.
Its design is impressive. I especially like the thick fur around the collar. It reminds me of the symbol of our Lionheart clan, the lion's mane. But it's a shame that the fur is colored black. If the fur was dyed white like the flames of the White Flame formula, or if it was dyed gray, it would look much more impressive. The current fur color seems to suit someone from the Knights of the Black Lion much better.
Hand it over. Didn't you hear her say she wants to try it on?
But I don't think she said something like that.
She doesn't necessarily have to put it into words for you to get what she meant.
Please try it on.
It's not bad. I think it would be even better if you used a lion-shaped brooch to clasp it across your chest. You could also have the Lionheart sigil embroidered on the back.
From the way you're talking, it's like I'm giving it to you. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm only lending it to you. Remember, don't mess around with my cloak.
It's about time. Let's go.
Seal?
Yes, I'll make sure to wait with Eugene.
Did you say you've come here to pick something out for Lady Ancilla's birthday?
Seal started opening up various conversations with Eugene, who just kept listing with no reply.
Let's stop with the useless talk and go pick out a present for your mother. But I don't even know what Lady Ancilla likes.
But I do, so why should that matter? You just need to follow me.
If you're just gonna have me follow you, why ask me to act as your guide?
You really do lack any courtesy. Then, do you want me to just wander around all on my own? You're going to abandon me in the capital of a foreign country, which I've never been to in my life, a place I know nothing about?
What do you mean by abandon? After all, it's not like you can't take care of yourself.
Even if you say that, everyone knows you're supposed to be following me.
Then I guess it can't be helped. I'm sure that if I needlessly blow you off, I'll be hearing about this for ages.
Did you do anything for your birthday? How about a party?
I didn't do anything. I was just reading books.
Books? You really didn't have a party? And you didn't get any presents from anyone?
I didn't get any. Although Head Wizard Lobarian and Miss Hera offered to get me some, I begged them not to because I would feel embarrassed.
Who's Hera?
A wizard of the Red Tower of Magic.
A woman?
Her name is Hera. So, did you really think she would be a man? But did you really come all the way to Aeroth just to buy presents?
Didn't I say I was here to see you as well?
But apart from that, I've known you for 4 years. Did you really think that I couldn't read your reactions? It's not like it's some huge secret. So what do you want to do with Lady Carmen?
You really do notice the strangest things.
You're just too obvious.
I'm in the middle of requesting her to take me as her squire, since, in any case, my brother is going to become the patriarch, and I have no desire for the position myself, although it seems like Mother wants me to enter an arranged marriage.
Seal peeked at Eugene's expression. However, Eugene's face didn't show any changes.
I hate the idea of arranged marriages, but I don't want to be locked up in the main estate either and forced to act like a lady.
So that's why you want to join the Knights of the Black Lion?
Although I cannot join right now, I want to become Lady Carmen's squire and receive her guidance.
That's good.
What is?
It's good to see you looking for something you can do yourself, rather than just relying on the main family. How's Cyan doing?
He keeps talking about you. He wanted me to find out what star of the white flame formula you've reached.
The 3rd star.
It's still the same as before. He's also still on the 2nd star.
Only Iod had grown up to be a dog. I heard that he's gone back to his mother's relative's house.
I still want him to learn magic, even though they should just let him do what he likes, since he won't be able to become the patriarch anyway. Let's stop discussing such upsetting topics and get something to eat. Isn't there a good restaurant nearby?
There are a lot of restaurants, but their food probably tastes worse than the main estate's cooking.
The taste doesn't matter. When it comes to good food, it isn't just taste, but the atmosphere is also important.
Eugene was dragged along by his arm.
He's dead now.
After all that torture, he didn't say anything. I guess he really didn't know. It's strange. How could a low-level black wizard like that come into contact with the eldest son of the Lionheart's main family and arrange a contract for him? Either he didn't know what fear was, or he could just be crazy.
He was probably just desperate. He first started practicing black magic dozens of years ago, but had found little success. If he grew old and died just like that, his soul would become the property of the demon folk he was contracted to, and he wouldn't even be allowed to reincarnate. As such, he probably believed that he could get out of trouble with the strength that he would have gained for selling the Lionheart clan's eldest heir.
I've heard that Noir Giabella claims she wasn't involved in this. What do you think, Balzac Ludbeth?